Hi, this is Ashio, and welcome back to Echo. We just met a lot of Jenna's old acquaintances, and yeah, they're a bad bunch. They got a lot of trauma, probably worse than our central group of friends' trauma. But yeah, we just spoke to them, and we just got away. So, truly, what the hell? Jenna repeats herself. She's sitting in the back seat, still peering out the rear window, with a boggled expression plastered on her face. I hear ya. What a mess. At least now we know they were hiding stuff about Cole. I tried to shine at least some optimism on the situation, however faint that is. We came out here to get information, and we did learn there was information to be had, so not a complete wash. I don't believe for a titty fucking second that Cole's dabbling in crank. Not to say they're responsible, but they do know something. Honestly, I don't believe they have the wherewithal to plan and successfully carry out something so malicious as a kidnapping. Flynn lets out a long sigh, keeping the truck steady along the dirt road with one hand, while the other rubs his scaled face. That doesn't help us figure out what the fuck to do next. Where are the goddamn cops? I'm the fucking city clerk. Why am I stuck doing this shit? There's a silence in the cabin, Jenna turning back around to peer in Flynn's rearview mirror at him. Because you're his friend, and you care about him. Flynn sees at these words. That's not helping, Jenna. I put out my phone, holding my thumb over the display button. Only 50% battery life. I'll have to remember to charge it later. Should I text Leo? Text him what? That you want me to roar you again? Flynn lets out a little huff, and Jenna gives the lizard a stern look. What? I mean, about what they just told us. There ain't no reason to. It's all pussy willow lies. After a while, he sighs, sounding defeated. Flynn reaches into his pocket, holding up his slightly antiquated-looking phone. I'll just post in the group chat a quick summary. Kate. And I'll make sure to let them know how sketch they were being. I nod, despite the fact that no one is currently looking at me. I step outside into the cool air, letting my feet rest on the hard asphalt of the parking lot. I stand there, enjoying the openness of my surroundings. You can only be cooped with two other people in one room for so long before it becomes increasingly apparent that you're just breathing each other's air. TJ had tried to keep Leo company today while they went out looking for Cole, but TJ was saying Leo was really distant. They ended up getting to the little recreational camping spot right before the lake, and Leo just said that he had to go and left TJ there without a ride. He said he didn't mind because he enjoys the walk, but Leo's behaviour had him worried. Jenna steps out beside me, fidgeting some with her hair. Tough day, huh? Mm-hmm. She responds quietly. So, if we're going to search tomorrow, have you... I'd actually rather not talk about Cole and the search effort right now, if that's alright with you. Jenna pauses, crossing her arms over her chest. I know it sounds bad, but we truly are doing everything we can for him, absolutely above and beyond. We've got a few more places on the outside of town that Flynn and I were going to look at, as well as some more phone numbers to call. Flynn's going to text us with all the details in the morning, so that's settled. I let out a little exhale of relief. I honestly have no idea where else to look, so props to them if they were able to scrounge up a place or two. Well, what did you want to talk about then? Jenna leans up against the nearby post, luminescent light giving her fur a slight halo effect. She's looking at me now, eyes tired and the very faintest of smiles crossing her muzzle. To be quite honest, not much talking's needed. Her smile grows less faint, her tired demeanour shifting to something more akin to cosy warmth. It's infectious, and soon I'm smiling just the same. Your company's fine enough. Really? She nods. Well, same for you. Good then. It's very good. Great. She lowers her eyes, standing there with that look that she's waiting for something. It takes me a second to realise what for. Oh, so I'm just gonna step over here? I take one comically large side step over toward where Jenna's standing, my tail swishing behind me in a low arc before slapping down on the pavement. Jenna lets out a little amused noise as she peers up at me, her own tail flicking in a contented sway. Oh. She cants her head, putting on a front of innocent curiosity as I approach. Whatever for? Well, maybe to do something like this. I place my paws on either side of her face. Her fur is so much softer than mine, with no oily sensation to it at all. I rub my thumb across her cheek, and then lean down to plant my muzzle against hers. Our lips meet. Her touch is gentle, a comfortable yet intimate pressure. Soon she opens her mouth, and I find myself doing the same. With Leo, it was always like some kind of tongue battle for dominance, which of course can be fun, but right now, this is nice. I can feel goosebumps on the back of my neck as her breath meets mine. It kinda smells like oatmeal. Had she been getting into my dinosaur egg oatmeal packets that I brought? Hope not. Only got a few of those. Jenna pulls back after a few seconds, her face radiant and glowing. She looks content, despite everything going on. She hums to herself, in thought. I take a smaller pause in mine, interlacing our fingers. Is something on your mind? Just never kissed a guy in a motel parking lot. She looks up toward the sky. At night. Oh. Their response wasn't exactly what I'd been expecting. Just everywhere else then. I tease, quickly putting on a big goofy smile to emphasise how much I'm joking and hoping to God she doesn't get offended. Right. I'm just making sure I remember to add it to my list. She says this with a complete deadpan before pushing away from the post and turning to head back inside. Wait, I'm just messing. Oh, I know. She walks past me, swinging her arm and smacking me squarely on the arse. The shock of it renders me completely off balance. It's been quite a long time since someone's done that to me, and I feel my face flush with heat as Jenna walks away. I can see her proud of herself smile stuck to her muzzle, even with her back turned. And God, what a backside. I was so nervous when we did it before. I guess I didn't really have time to appreciate things. I wish I could sleep in your bed tonight. I speak without thinking, and Jenna stops, her paw on the door handle. The audible thunks of TJ fussing about inside punctuate the silence. What's stopping you? A genuine question, but she doesn't stick around for the answer. And then I'm alone. With a little sigh, I rest my side against the same post Jenna was, closing my eyes again and just letting the surroundings sink in. Again, it's unusually humid out, especially for spring, where we usually get less than an inch of rain in a month. Monsoon season isn't set to start for another 90 days or so. I hold out my paws to the sky and let my tongue loll out, tasting the ozone in the air. It's the closest thing I can get to being in water right now, not counting the shower, of course. I mean actually being surrounded in something vast and wet, like a moist blanket that you can let carry you away. Speaking of moist blankets, TJ's been in the bathroom for like an hour. I really gotta piss. I step away from the high-pitched buzz of the fluorescent outdoor lighting, heading out around the bend of the motel and into the wash nearby. It takes me a second for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. The desert at night can look pretty strange, like the absence of the sun sucks all the colour out of the world. It makes trying not to fall into a ditch all the more difficult when everything starts blending together. Once I find a good spot hidden away from any of the motel windows, I turn my back to it and get to leak taking. I make it a concerted effort this time not to piss on myself. If that happens twice in a row, Jenna's going to start thinking I've got a fetish or something. Water sports. Why do they call it water sports anyway? If you're actually into water-based sports, you can't really talk about your hobby without the perverts in the room thinking you like piss. No, to be fair, there's much worse stuff out there to be into. I remember for the longest time, Flint had this whole reputation of being into scat. I think it started after someone called him a shit pusher because he was gay, and of course he told them that he was and he loved doing it. And then it all got ambiguated in the high school social mill until Flynn was apparently spending his weekends diving into septic tanks. Flynn wasn't remotely pleased when that stigma didn't go away. And of course, I thought it was hilarious. Strangely enough, that never got applied to Leo and I, even with all of our PDA. I guess there's a crunching noise beside me, dry bramble being tread underfoot and the sudden scuffing of dirt. The noise stops as soon as it starts, and I glance over, realising I'm not alone. The fuck? I blink. I must have finished pissing a minute ago, but here I am, still hudding my prick. Micah stares at the aforementioned before looking back up at me. I quickly shove myself back into my shorts, nearly tripping over myself as I step back away from him. Damn it, where'd he even come from? I was taking the leak? The fuck you were, schizo. His voice is strange, distant. In fact, he looks completely out of it, as if his comprehension of the world around him is delayed. You were just standing there, staring off into the great dark nothing, cock and paw. Jerking into the void. That how you defeat it? What are you talking about? Why are you even here? Micha points, a half-lidded stare in my direction, his fingers wiggling around the edges of his tank top. He's not so much looking at me as looking right through me. I'm a bat, and it's night. I can be wherever I want. So you want to be here? The voice echoes so clearly in my mind, I can't help but say it out loud. So you want to be here? Fuck no. He sniffs, his answer spoken with a tired, slurred tone. I mean, I'm here, 'cause, like, there's dick all for me out there. Fuck, wait, are you talking about right here, right now, with you? I look into his widened pupils and slowly nod. Shit. Micha rubs at his face, pinching at his own lightly fuzzed cheeks, his gaze still a million miles away. He's exhausted, or at least appears so now. Like someone on the tail end of a ride on a fierce upper. You can't pull off sleep forever. Shit, I'm only half awake right now, and that's the worst way to be. It's like how when you're dreaming and you're flying, but when you're having a nightmare you're falling. I'm always falling. Micha steps back, his heels hanging off the edge of the wash, and I'm sure he's about to tip over into it. Without thinking, I reach out for him, but he seems to lean away from my paw. The hell am I doing? Don't touch the junkie. I should get out of here and back to the motel room. Behold, I was shaped in iniquity. He extends his tattooed arms and shows off his wingspan. Before I can say anything to respond to the bat's ramblings, he tips backward like he's expecting someone to catch him. Oh shit. Are you okay? Silence. I start creeping closer to the edge to get a look at him, but a small voice rings out from within. Fucking owl. He goes quiet again as dust plumes rise up from the ditch. Finally, another little grunt. No, where the hell am I? Ah, son of a bitch. As I peer over the edge, I can tell it's about a good 3 to 4 foot drop. Nothing too dire, but definitely not pleasant. Micha's dazed gaze meets mine and quickly narrows. Ah, fuck, of course. Wasn't just a dream. I stare blankly at him, wheels turning in my head for a second. Wait, were you sleepwalking? If that's what you want to call it. Did you just have your prick out? I ignore the question. Your dream made you do a trust fall into the dirt. I thought you were tweaking out on drugs or something. If only. Micha slowly pushes himself up to his feet and climbs out of the wash. His backside is completely caked with dirt and goat-head bramble. He tries to pick out the stickers from his fur, wincing at each pluck. I thought there was water in there for some reason. He thumbs over his shoulder. There's probably not going to be any in there for another few months. Yeah, fuck, I'll be gone by then. Micha shakes his legs a few times, some more dust scattering to the wind. Having white fur like that must suck in the desert here. If you get even the slightest bit dirty, everyone can see. For me, everything just kind of blends into the brown fur. He squints at the building nearby and lets out a little astonished noise. I made it all the way out to the motel. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Fucking hellfire, man, shit's just getting so much worse. He shakes his head. He's clearly lucid now, but I don't know if he's really talking to me. You doze off for 1 minute and then everything's an absolute shit show. A cold chill creeps down along my spine. This is all sounding real familiar. Pot helps, keeps the bad vibes down, but it's a quick fix for something that you never know when it's coming. I've been having something similar happen to me, I think. Really bad dreams, mainly. His gaze snaps at me, as if he wasn't expecting me to actually respond to him. Fucking really, no shit. The bat extends an arm out to his surroundings, gesticulating at everything and nothing all at once, while his wings flap about. You ain't the only one, muskfuck. You ain't seen how it's been. It's real shit down on Jasmine Street, the hum that gets bad there. The hum? I frown, unnerved by the bat's words, but not really sure I should start questioning them. You wouldn't know, after all. You'll just have a little fun trip, and then fucking ride off. Micha says it like it's a bad thing. However, I'm not guilty about wanting to get the hell out of here at the soonest possible convenience. When we find Cole, of course. So, you're gonna leave town too, right? Micha glances over at me. Yeah, you should go soon, swell. But he'll be back. But you'll be back. They all come back. We all come back. What are you on about? I'm honestly not quite sure myself. The words just sounded right at the time. I shrug. I guess That's just what it feels like to me. Not everyone does. His tone shifts more melancholy, the young bat reaching into his pocket and flipping out an old cell phone for a moment. It looks like one of those cheapo ones that you can buy the minutes and text messaging per usage. Burners, I think they're called. After a moment, I realised who he's referring to. I never really, knew Keith. I'm sorry he went missing. He stops messing with his phone, yellow eyes flicking back up to me. You didn't know him, and you're not the reason he disappeared, so stop talking like you're personally involved. I feel myself starting to get a little frustrated. I don't know why I'm still here. In fact, I don't know why Mike is still here. He's just lingering about, even after he claimed he came this way due to sleepwalking or whatever. What was Keith doing before he went missing? This is the point where I seem to have Micah's full attention. He glances around for a moment before stepping forward, lowering his voice to a quiet rasp. What he always was doing, schizo, trying to fix people. He'd see somebody who'd be utter shit trash and then find their inner spirit or whatever. You know, native shit. He thinks for a second. Well, native lights, whatever. Keith was one of those weird kids who read philosophy books in school. He helped all of us, of course, and I thank him to bits for it. Screw-ass didn't know his limits. Started getting chummy with the supplier, this big, bare bastard named Brian. Supplier? Keith dealt drugs? Bitch, everyone deals and gets dealt in Echo. This ain't a surprise, or shouldn't be. So let me get you off your moral high horse right now. He squints in thought. Yeah, now that I think of it. Wasn't your mum the one that let Sven miserly plough her for Oxy? What? I can't help but be taken aback by that one. No. You're saying your mum didn't take Oxy? No, she had back pain issues and took Percocet, but that's it. That is Oxy, bitch. But enough about your whore mum. Fuck you. He huffs. He's so full of shit, just like before at the bonfire. I dip my paws into my pockets and turn to leave. I get a couple of steps forward toward the motel and hear the bat rasp from behind me. Hey, don't be a bitch. I keep walking. The shower's probably freed up now, God knows I could use it. If not just for the water, but the time alone. No, wait, seriously? Stop. Chase. I hear a frustrated sigh. Chase, please? I need to talk to you, serious like. I turn, and if his sight was any good, he can get a good view of how done with his shit I am from my expression alone. Keith tried to help this supplier turn his life around, all that. I hesitate. I didn't expect him to start talking about Keith again. He saw the goodness in him, etc, etc. Before all this, Keith would always take me out after school on Fridays. We go find these RC planes we tinkered with down by the river. I mean, it sounds about as fun as plucking pubes to most folk now, but little me loved it. The moment he started getting close to Brian, it stopped. We saw him less and less, until, poof. Keith's gone. No one knows where he went, including Brian, so claimeth he. And I had nothing left here. My anger with the bat begins to fade as he looks me straight into the eye. There's something about the tone of his voice that's different, like this is actually a matter he'd thought about for a long time. Micha, are you? I exhale, stepping forward and lowering my voice. Are you trying to tell me something? Something about Cole? No, I'm trying to get you to whip out your dick again. The runty brat's nostrils flare as he steps closer. I cover my crotch with my free paw and he rolls his eyes. Do you want help finding this rich fat kid? I hesitate as it's hostile phrasing, but begrudgingly nod. Any information at all could help at this point. Yes, I want help finding Cole. Do you know anything that can help us? Cool, and hopefully. He doesn't speak for a time, rolling his cell phone in his paws. Don't report anything I'm about to tell you to the cops. I'm genuinely trying to help you here, but I need you to swear to it. Sure, whatever. I swear I won't tell the cops. I lie. Okay, good. Nothing I did is really illegal, but it can be implicating as all hell if you don't find your friend. Is this about the meth that you guys said Cole was taking? No, that was bullshit. Knew it. Well, Flynn knew it. Like hellfire, I'm going to start ratting fuckers out in front of everybody. The Hendricks house was marked. Jeremy tipped Clint off that Cole was staying home alone. Clint then brings me on to scope shit out, just before midnight at 11. I can see well in the dark, so got a good look at their alarm system. That's when I noticed two big glowing eyes staring back at me. I don't know what happened, but there was a flash and the next thing I know, I'm falling from the second story ledge onto the riprap. The photo? That was Micha? The flash of Cole's cell phone camera? That has to be it. He took a picture of you before you fell. We found the photo the next day. The bat's lips tighten. Well, fuck me then. Guess it's good that I'm getting ahead of this. It barely even looked like you, I think. The picture's all distorted. I tried to wave off his concerns with a reassuring tone, reshifting the conversation back to Cole. What happened next? Micah sighs, speaking up again. Next thing I hear is a whole shit ton of thudding. Like, da-dunk, da-dunk. I couldn't move. I didn't want to start sprinting off while anyone inside was still looking at the window. So I huddled up in a blind spot, and the noise kept going on for a solid 30 minutes. Then, a fucking hell of a clatter. The sound of wooden boards snapping inside. Next thing I know, the fat ass is taking off into the desert, completely spooked. Which direction? South, I think. Anyway, he holds up his basic looking cell phone. I gave Clint a call and told him what happened. He started freaking the fuck out on me, cussing and swearing, spitting up a storm. Kept insisting he needed to call someone. That's the last I heard of it. Spent the next 12 hours nursing a bruised tailbone in an abandoned trailer off Route 65. Wow, goddamn. Actual answers. This is all really helpful, Micah, but why are you telling me this? Why are you ratting out that you're friends to someone you hate? The bat groans aloud, a look of exasperation crossing his tired features. Have you been listening at all? There are fuckers out there I don't trust, and if there's anything to be done about putting a boot to their asses, I'm down. For Keith. The bat taps at his phone a few times before handing it my way. Give me your number. I'll keep you updated on what's going on. The supplier guy I mentioned will be coming into town. I'll see if I can get more info out of him and Clint about the RAM. I'll take the phone, slowly using the tiny button-based numpad to put in my number. There's probably a few ways this can come back and bite me in the arse, but at this point, I'm pretty damn desperate for a lead. I just never would have expected it would come from Micah of all people, and winningly at that. And here I thought you hated me. I don't care enough about you to hate your schizo. I handed the bat back his phone, unsure of how to feel about that response. If I don't hear from you by the time we have to go Sunday, you should get the fuck out of Echo. His tone is flat, a matter-of-fact statement that he believes doesn't need further explanation. I nod in response, wondering if it's too late to take my number back. Well, if that's all? I glance back to the hotel. Michael looks too. Yeah. Yeah, actually, one more thing. Oh, I perk a brow in his direction. You still with that wolf boy, Leo? I remember him getting skittish about him earlier. He's acting nonchalant, but there's definitely something more to this question than casual curiosity. The answer to the question itself is also a complicated one. Not really. Why do you ask? I don't give a shit. He looks down at his phone as he says this. It's a lie. Then why'd you ask? He just... I hear he talks a lot of shit. Was wondering if he ever talks shit about me. Micah folds his arms over his chest, staring at his phone screen. To be honest, I don't even recall a time he even mentioned you by name. It is the truth. Out of all the Jasmine Street kids, Micah was one I never really heard Leo talk about. Figures. What? What? I'm out of here. I'll text you in a bit. The bat turns and heads off. There's something about him that sticks with me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Once he disappears around the corner of the motel, I take out my phone and tab over to our group chat. Wow, we've got real answers. But Cole ran off into the desert. Oh, we made it to Friday. So, Cole got spooked, he ran off. Did someone chase him? Or did he get left to it? Maybe Clint knows. I'm a great swimmer, I swear. A young woman's voice. It's distant, but near. Like a video with the volume nearly all the way down. I strain myself to listen more closely, and the spoken words start to come into focus. That's doubtful. You're a yote after all. A man's voice, also barely audible. I'm inside the cabin of a large vehicle. It's rickety, and I have to hold on to something to keep from shaking all over the place. I can see two people in front now, their silhouettes pronounced, but I can't make out their faces. It's like they're distorted, water droplets on fresh ink. The one in the passenger seat is a woman, a coyote. She has lots of jewellery. Not that I can see it, but it jingles around whenever she moves, and it reminds me of my mum. The man on the left who's driving is an otter. He's wearing a hunting cap that's too small for his noggin. Whenever he turns his head, I catch a glimpse of him in the mirror, and his face is blurred. The only part that's distinguishable are his eyes, like shining blue headlights in the dark. I think I'm seeing things from his point of view, even though he's not really me. The cabin behind the two front seats is roomy, like a van. In fact, I feel like there are more people behind me, but I can't look over my shoulder. I'm stuck, shaking around in between the front seat and somewhere in the back, near the rear cabin doors. Yeah, and you're a dirty species, Dove. The times are a-changing, and you best get with them. Elsewise, I might need to find myself more sophisticated company, you hear? The woman responds. This is all so familiar for some reason. Deja vu? Jan, you read dirty novels and you eat fast food like a hog. I've heard of Maseta witch doctors who are more worldly and sophisticated than you. He grunts, laughing a little at his joke. Oh please, darling, reading a little novella with the word penis in it ain't gonna damn me straight to hell. Second, I got my own license now. You know, a job. You might hear of one someday. I could use the money I make from said job to buy whatever I want that makes me feel special. Sometimes that's a little romance book at the drugstore, and sometimes that's a large vanilla milkshake with extra cherries. Third and final, I don't think the Maseta have witch doctors, they got shamans. I met the one once. He was a very nice old man, about 4 feet tall too, pocket-sized. The woman sounds rather pleased with herself for countering all this man's comments. The man lets out a dismissive noise. You met one, huh? What do you do? Sell your love potion? Another chitter of laughter at his own joke. I dunno, hun. You tell me. You reckon it's working? Her tone's flirty, and I can practically feel them both smiling. I'm outside now, and my head's spinning. I'm walking, but it's not my body that's moving. It's someone else's. The movements are slow and deliberate. A stab of pain when the body's left leg moves too high or the joints rotate at the knees. The fur on their arms is ice white, and the muzzle's feline. Some sort of big albino cat, trudging one foot after the other beside the highway, caught up in a strange daze. Sepia-tinted memories fill our head of places that look straight out of the Southwestern Adventures frontier quarter. These recollections are his existence, and the physical reality in front of him a fading dream, something that causes pain to traverse. This world is not his home anymore, as much as it hurts him to think that. One of his feet steps upon the pavement, then the other, crossing the lanes to walk directly down the little yellow line down the centre. The people he loved are all dead, but he doesn't want to join them. He just wants them back. As his own senses fail him, the memories in his head keep getting more and more real. They're there in his mind. He can see the stitching in their clothing, the smell of their fur, the chuckle in their voice, the touch of their paws, the taste of their lips. It's such a sad way to be. I'm back in the van. The otter and coyote are trading glances with each other now. The more brusque personality of the otter seems tempered by the coyote, like he's trying not to take himself too seriously around her. The radio's playing something now, something that was there before, but I couldn't quite make it out. It's not music, it's just voices. Drawn out, distorted, and mostly unintelligible. I catch something that sounds like nervous laughter from a high-pitched voice. Then a more baritone one responds with something reassuring. It's okay. At least that's what I think it says. And finally, a squelching noise, like squishing soft putty between your paws. The feeling that something is behind me in the van grows. I've been here before. I know I have. But when? No matter what I do, I can't turn round. Even the rearview mirror reflects a distorted image. I can just barely make out something back there, undulating in constant restless motion, strobing between pulsating flashes of faint red light. There's applause, like someone clapping. The handles of the rear cabin doors seem to shudder and click, like someone's trying to open them from the outside. But that's impossible. We're moving? It feels like I'm yanked back out to the road again, with the old man walking down the centre line. The memories in his head grow, more perspicuous as he walks. It's as if building towards some great zenith, or a point of total clarity. I'm not sure how I know this. There's a rumbling of an engine coming up from behind, puttering in rhythmic fashion. Again, I can't turn to face it, but I know it's there, and it's getting closer. The engine roars. It's coming right up behind me. This is nuts. What the fuck am I doing? It's the high-pitched voice from the radio. I can hear it now, clearer than ever before. You're doing great, Chula. The baritone voice. That was Leo? The albino older man stops, turning as if he heard this too. Heavy breaths escape my throat and splay forth, fogging up the windshield. The two lovers exchange a kiss, eyes lulled. There are lovers in the back as well, fumbling with themselves in that same red light. That same red light that bathes the entire sky. The cabin doors fling open, and I can finally see the person who's been trying to get in from the outside. A runty-looking, amber-eyed otter stands there, wearing an oversized blue t-shirt and khaki shorts. It's me. I'm younger, and I don't have the goatee. Somehow, I'm just floating behind the moving vehicle, as if we were standing still. The colour in younger me's eyes starts to fade, before shifting to an icier blue. He shrinks, and soon the figure standing there is a little boy in his swimming trunks. Him. What does he want? Another shift, and he springs up, about with distorted, jolty movements. The transition is nowhere near as smooth as the first. An otter in his hunting cap, far too tight for his head, those same blue eyes piercing right through me. Bronson. Mr. Bronson? Sydney's father. Is Mr. Bronson also the one driving the van we're in? I see no reaction from the blurry figure in the driver's seat, still more occupied with the coyote next to him. He's only there for a second before his face practically tears away in jagged artifacting. Mr. Bronson twists in on himself, expression uncaring, as it falls apart and fades into ragged white fur. The elderly albino on the road. It's him. At least I think it is. His silhouette is more abstracted, the detail of his features somehow darker. His form floats there for some time. I keep waiting for it to shift, but it doesn't. Instead, it turns its head to look directly at me with stark red eyes. They widen, still peering, and I try to step back, but I can't move. Like fluorescent bulbs, they begin to illuminate, blinding me as they grow closer and closer. I hold up my paw just as the old man's mouth opens, about to speak. What? Crash. Janice, you okay? Bronson, what did you hit? Bronson, don't just sit there. You answer me right now. I don't know. Jesus, sweet Mary Christ. Mr. Bronson is despondent, while Janice, is starting to get frantic. Everything's dark, but I can still see a slight red splatter in the centre of the windshield. A large chunk of fur is caught in the wiper. Mr. Bronson steps out of the vehicle, his blurry form flickering into something a little more focused. His clothes are loose hanging, jeans bell-bottomed. It's very 60s. I can see the whiskers on his face like they were my own. His heart is practically beating out of his chest, his fur damp with cold sweat. The fierce electric, buzzing hum which permeates the landscape. Are they hearing it too? I decide to move with him, seeing from his point of view. Mr. Bronson covers his face, paws trembling. He can't see anything in this darkness. Ah. The otter nearly leaps out of his fur, startled by the voice. It's a weak, desperate cry, a gurgling of pain following it immediately after. Mr. Bronson runs to the source of the pathetic sound, Janice getting out of the van as well. She clutches her bag to her side, her high heels clacking against the asphalt. Bronson, oh my God! I see it. I see him. The albino feline is stuck, wedged between the fender skirt and the wheel itself, a space about a foot wide. He's practically folded into it, legs snapped upward and jutting to the side. Wild red eyes dart from Mr. Bronson to Janice and back again. I can't tell if he's pleading for help or asking why. All I know is that he's in excruciating pain beyond the capacity for tears, just instant shock. Images flash before his eyes, and now he's not looking at anyone at all. He's devoid of movement beyond the rapid heaving of his chest. Jesus! She screams. His shoulders caught under the tyre, and he's bleeding. Oh God, Bronson, we gotta do something. I know we gotta do something! He shouts back at her, eyes nearly popping out of his head. Jack. Janice gasps as the old man begins to speak again. A look of realisation crosses her no longer blurry face, and she points toward the back of the van. Get the jack! Mr. Bronson blinks, then quickly rushes to the back to get his toolkit, flinging the doors open. In place of obscure lovers are a mound of tarantulas burrowing into each other as if trying to hide from the newly opened doors. Some are blondes, while others are of the more standard rust and black colour. He doesn't seem to notice or care about these creatures which flee from his presence, instead diving for his little olive toolbox. I tried to step away, but I'm stuck, seeing through his eyes now. He flings his tools around, hammers, wrenches, and rebar clattering to the side. No Jack. Mr. Bronson stares, motionless, until Janice's shrieking voice breaks the silence. What's taking you so long? Get him out of there, Bronson! The otter exhales shakily, and then makes his way back to Janice, giving her a blank look. Help me lift. What? I said help me lift. Are you kidding me? You don't have a jack? Shut up and help! Mr. Bronson slips his paws under the side of the van next to the wheel, squeezing his palms against the chrome. Janice quickly does the same on the other side of the wheel. On 3. Lift. Mr. Old Man, we're going to get you out of there in no time. You just got to slide on 3 once this goes up, okay? She tries to put on a reassuring voice, but the albino just stares past her with those intense red eyes. 1. Bronson, I don't know if I can do this. 2. She shakes, tears beginning to well in her eyes. Oh God. 3. The van creaks as it begins to rise up off the ground, at least on this corner. Janice screams at her own exertions, muscles spasming as her arms shake. I can't. The old man begins sliding his broken legs down the side of the wheel, one of his 3 paws grabbing the side of the fender's skirt. Low moans escape from inside his chest, whimpers of unimaginable pain and shock as his crushed bones realign themselves inside him. He makes it most of the way out by the time Janice's arms give out, the van instantly lowering back down a couple inches. I'm sorry. Fuck. Mr. Bronson spreads his legs wide, his muscles quivering as he tries to hold up the whole van by himself. Go, get out of there! He screams down at the albino, his blue eyes meeting the albino's as the old feline begins to nudge himself out from under the wheel. No. The otter howls as the van continues to lower despite his best efforts. The old man feels it touch the side of his muzzle. His breathing quickens, arms reaching for something, anything to help him. Then some gentle pressure. His eyes are bleary and moist now, like a lost child's. Then more pressure. And then... crunch. Janice screams. She screams and screams until her vocal cords fray like old yarn. Time passes. The body of the old man is dragged into a large open hole in the side of the road. Mr. Bronson's paws are blooded, nails chipped from digging without a shovel. Janice refused to help, and she's been sitting on the van quietly for the past half hour, crying to herself. She can't stop shaking. He buries the body in a small ditch, trying not to look at his half-crushed face. It seems to stare at him, asking for help from beyond the grave. He could have helped, but he wasn't strong enough. Maybe this is what he wanted after all, to die. Why else would he have been walking straight toward them in the middle of the road? He had plenty of time to move out of the way, but he didn't. It was like he didn't realise the shock of what had been done until he was tangled in the wheel skirts of the van. His bones jutting from his skin and blood dripping from his overalls. Once he's completely covered, Mr. Bronson peers back at the van. The splatter from the impact is still visible. He places a small stone to mark the grave of the unknown man before heading back and getting into the driver's seat. Jenna says nothing to him, and for that he's thankful. Mr. Bronson drives off the road and into a small valley a short ways away. He parks in between some bushes and collects his things, trying to ignore the new throbbing pain in his head. Together they silently exit the van and begin their slow walk back to Echo. A lone figure watches them from atop the hill, an impossibly tall silhouette with lanky arms that hang past his knees. We're together now. Oh man, that was rough, but I think that is the end of this episode. We got some useful clues about Cole, and an interesting flashback about Sydney's father. But yeah, that is it for now. This is Usho signing off, and hopefully I will see you next time.